afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrew Miller. I'm the CFO of Corero Network Security PLC. We've got today a presentation which will take you through a little bit of our background, what we do, the competitive landscape, and where we see the market opportunity. As an overview, our focus is in the cybersecurity space, and particularly around a particular phenomenon called DDoS. I'm sure many of you have heard of the acronym DDoS. It's denial of service, which is a common form of cyber attack. It's been around for a number of years, but it's really come to the fore in the last 12 to 24 months in terms of the veracity of attacks, the number of attacks, and the wide-ranging targets of these attacks in terms of the corporate community, service providers, governments, etc. So examples of recent DDoS attacks are TalkTalk. HSBC has been under attack, RBS has been under attack, and we see in our customer base, certainly customers, high-profile customers, who are attacked multiple times a day, let alone a couple of times a year. So it's a real problem for customers that are connected to the internet. Our product is called the SmartWall Threat Defense System, and as I mentioned, we're in the cybersecurity market, a market that's characterized by high growth, change. Obviously, security is one of those industries that's constantly evolving and changing as attackers are changing the way they commit these attacks and the tools that they use. And the segment that we're in, denial of service, is a fast-growing, hot segment of that cybersecurity market. In terms of the competitive environment for DDoS solutions, there are a limited number of players in the market. The largest player, or the historic incumbent, is a company called Arbor Networks. They are a large player that is, about a year ago, was subject to a reverse takeover, and they're now part of NetScout, a large network monitoring software company in the US. And there are a number of other players. Radware are an Israeli technology company, A10, and a company called Fortinet, who are a generalist security provider. In terms of the disruption factors in the DDoS market, our technology is real-time automatic mitigation compared to some of the legacy technologies that our competitors have taken to market, which is more what's called on-demand or requires manual intervention to be able to facilitate the blocking of these attacks called denial of service attacks. There's obviously an increasing capacity and scale within the computing market, the whole move towards the cloud, more and more companies moving to elastic compute, means there are more and more companies looking for those providers of those services to provide security services, and DDoS services are a part of that service offering. In terms of the opportunity for us, the demand for DDoS services is increasing rapidly, and we believe we're positioned to be the new leader in this particular segment of the cybersecurity market. Our management team, our CEO is a gentleman by the name of Ashley Stevenson. He actually is a Brit, but he's based in our offices in the US. He's been very successful in a number of startup companies, which have gone to be successful corporations. Dave Larson is our COO. He came to us from HP Networking. He ran HP's advanced security group, which included their entire security portfolio. So Dave was a major coup for Corero in terms of attracting him to our organization. Julian Palmer is the VP of Engineering. Julian came from HP and joined us about a year ago. And Julian's been spearheading some of our development efforts. We've recently opened a development office in Edinburgh to tap into some of the talent in Scotland. And Scott Prouty leads our North American sales team. He comes to us from Arbor. So he's opened the doors at a number of the large US service providers that we have started having conversations and are under tests in terms of them testing our technology. In terms of investors, we have around 50% of our shares held by a number of high net worths and institutional investors. Herald is the largest institutional investor. They've been invested in Corero from the start of our journey in the cybersecurity space. Richard Koch is a well-known high net worth individual, and he's seen the opportunity in terms of what we're doing. And then directors and management have 41% of the equity. The majority of that is our non-exec chairman, Jens Montanano. So as I mentioned, SmartWall Threat Defense is our product. We target it at the service provider and the hosting provider market, as well as online enterprises. So when I say service provider, I'm talking about the large service providers like BT, Verizon, AT&T, as well as the mid-market and the smaller players, the regional providers and the even smaller players. The hosting providers would be from the large players like Equinix or Rackspace or Telecity, to the smaller emerging cloud providers, of which there are thousands in our target market, which is principally North America and Europe. And then, of course, online enterprises. Some enterprises their connection to the internet and guaranteeing that connection is so important that they invest in this type of technology to secure that. We announced last year a $700,000 order with a FTSE 100 company. They've invested in our technology. One of our referenceable customers is a company called Jagex. They're a Cambridge-based online gaming company. Their main game is a game called RuneScape. I don't know if any of you have heard of RuneScape, but it's the largest online role-play game in the world. They have hundreds and thousands of players at any one point, and we protect their infrastructure for those players. The clever bit of what we do is in the software. The hardware is industry-standard hardware, so our hardware cost is a very small component of our cost of sales. And the modularity in terms of what we've designed, we believe is that there's nothing like it in the market in terms of the way we deliver our solution in modular formats. So customers don't have to make a massive investment up front. They can buy the technology as they grow and as the requirement and their needs in terms of capacity and customers that they service grow. SmartWars that was the result of 3 years of an investment cycle. It was launched in the back end of 2014. The intellectual property is Corero's. We've developed the product ourselves. The product has been in the market for just over 18 months. In terms of what we do in our differentiation, the real differentiation is around what we call real-time protection. So this solution sits in the network and is able to inspect traffic in real time, 24/7, and distinguish between good and bad traffic. And that happens without any human intervention. So the product is configured and sits in the network, blocking attacks as and when they might happen, because attacks can happen at any time of the day. We typically position ourselves at the point at which customers connect to the outside world. So we sit in front of what's called the Internet Access Router, and we inspect all this traffic coming into a corporate network. This particular graphic here is a customer we announced in early January, a large hosting provider deal of around 400,000. They're a hosting provider in the US. They have themselves thousands of customers that they host their web applications and various other online presence for. So you'll see their connection, they've got 100 gigabytes of connectivity that they get from internet service providers, and our technology protects all of that 100 gigabit connection to those service providers. So you'll see here, this is a graphic between 3 o'clock on Monday the 11th of January and 6 o'clock. The green is the normal traffic that's coming into their network from normal customers. And then you'll see above that a red category, which is traffic which is malicious and it's been blocked. And then suddenly, just before 4 p.m., there's this massive spike, which literally takes up almost their entire internet connectivity. This was one particular customer of those thousands of customers that they host that was attacked, targeted for whatever reason, we don't know. As a result, they virtually saturated their entire network internet connectivity to their service providers. And without our technology, that would have taken the majority of their customers offline. So they had thousands of customers down without internet connectivity for that period of time that attack lasted. And you can see that these attacks continue right the way through the day. And we see in most of our customers this type of phenomenon. So these customers, prior to having our technology, were having to use manual techniques to try and identify where the attack was coming from, what's called black hole that traffic for that particular customer, so take that customer offline to protect their other customers. Now with our technology, it sits and automatically is able to detect these attacks and block them in real time before they do any damage, without any manual intervention. So that's been a significant win for us. It was against our major competitor, and it's going to be a great reference case for us. And there are thousands of other customers like this that we are targeting.
Who's your major competitor?
Our major competitor is a company called Arbor Networks.
Just for an idiot like me, what are the main techniques you deploy for detecting an attack like that?
So we have a number of algorithms that we use in our software that's looking at the traffic and identifying packet by packet and flow by flow what's coming into the network, whether that traffic's good or bad. And this is all happening at very, very, very high speeds because obviously latency is a big issue.
But what characteristics are you looking for?
So we're looking for connection rates, we're looking for flow rates, we're looking for multiple same requests from the same IP address. We understand what normal traffic looks like, and then we're profiling each individual connection, each individual request against that what is normal, but at very, very high speed.
And typically then these kind of attacks do have some fingerprints that are not typical of a normal traffic.
Absolutely, and that's the key. And the other key thing for us as well is not to block legitimate traffic. Yeah. So if we're not certain it's an attack, the worst thing we can do is block suspicious type traffic because that might be legitimate. Yeah. And that's what's in the security industry, is what's known as false positives. So our customers go crazy if we block legitimate traffic, because it means it's real, potentially revenue generating traffic for them. So that precise nature of being able to really pinpoint something from as being malicious as opposed to potentially malicious is very important, and we do that very well.
Is that a performance metric they expect you to measure for them, or do they measure you?
No, they measure us, because they know if customers are being blocked. Yeah. So you can imagine, if for an online gaming company, that's every connection is a revenue opportunity. So customers, if they're online trying to place a bet or do a transaction, they'll know if they're being blocked, and they shout pretty loud. So our customers are acutely conscious of this blocking of legitimate traffic. So it's something it's been architected in our solution to limit that to nothing.
And Arbor are your main competitor?
Arbor are our main.
What percentage of the addressable market have they got?
Yeah.
What percentage of you?
Arbor have, in the large service provider space, they have around 70% of the market share. They're being the incumbent. We see them as very vulnerable. Their technology is old, it's very expensive, and most of the providers are looking for an alternative. We can typically go in and provide a solution for a cost that is less than the annual maintenance that Arbor is charging the customer. So we're talking about they've deployed tens of millions of dollars in these large provider networks. I'm not saying it's an easy displacement because they're entrenched. So this particular customer was an Arbor customer. They had protection for 10 gigabytes of protection, but their network had grown to 100. So they wanted to expand. So they came to both ourselves and Arbor fought very, very hard to stay in there. But we won on the basis of our technology and the fact that these attacks are mitigated automatically. As opposed to with Arbor, their solution is more of a monitoring tool, which then technicians obviously watching screens see, there's been an attack. And they'll normally detect there's been an attack once the attack has abated. And once they've detect an attack, they will then reroute traffic to what's called a scrubbing center to strip out the bad traffic from the good and then redirect the good traffic to its intended source. So we were able to, in that case, show the return on investment in terms of our proposition of being automatically detecting and operating what we call inline versus the Arbor approach. So in those situations where customers are looking to upgrade or provide additional capacity or provide a new service, that's our opportunity to get in and displace Arbor.
Is there third-party evaluation by certain consultants or research people?
It's a very good point. We expect, we know there's a test being done currently by a company called NSS Labs. They're the leading cybersecurity testing, third-party testing company, and they'll be bringing out a test. They're currently testing our product along with 4 or 5 of the other providers in the space, and those results will be available by the end of March. They'll be publicly available. So our history is we acquired a company in the United States that was focused in the cybersecurity space. They were more focused on what's called intrusion prevention, which is a more mature technology, but had DDoS capability, and we've brought that DDoS focus to the fore. And as I said, we invested in the SmartWall threat defense product, which has now been in the market for 18 months. We're very confident in the technology. Our customers love it. Our key opportunity is the sales execution, sales acceleration. Our gross margins are 70% plus, so it's a sales volume game in terms of success for the company. In terms of our referenceable customers, I mentioned Jagex. Spirit are a medium-sized regional service provider in the US. They cover the Carolinas, so North and South Carolina. We sold a $700,000 solution to them in September, which we announced in the market. So our technology is providing protection for this service provider's network.
Is that a perpetual license sale?
It's a good question. We sell currently a perpetual license. So our hardware and our software is sold on a perpetual license. And then we sell annual support and update contracts, which are around 20% of the initial sale value per annum.
So you have consultants to go in?
No, we do that all remote. So we provide them with updates to the software in terms of protections against new and emerging types of attacks, and obviously the normal maintenance, and that's all done remotely. There's no hands required to actually do the configuration or the upgrades of the technology. It's all software related.
So when you sell under a perpetual license, there's no implementation?
No, there might be a smaller standard implementation, but it's mostly done remote. So we ship our technology, they plug it in, it calls back home, and we can configure it remotely.
Why are the gross margins higher?
Higher than 70%?
Yeah.
That's
Is there a hardware?
There is a hardware element.
What's that normally as a percentage of the perpetual license element?
We don't separate the hardware and the software revenue, but our cost for hardware in terms of what we sell our technology for, our sale price, our list price is around $80,000 per 10 gig unit, and our cost of sale in terms of the product cost is $10,000. The actual material costs are insignificant in terms of our overall costs. Buckeye Telesystem is another medium-sized service provider in the US. There's a great case study or webinar on our website where they talk about what the problems they were having and how we were able to address them. Buckeye didn't have any existing DDoS solution. They looked at Arbor a couple of years ago, but it was way too expensive for them. So this has really validated our belief that this mid-size service provider is a great opportunity for us. In terms of these next few slides, it's just an overview of the evolution of DDoS defense. What typically happened historically is that if customers were subject to a DDoS attack or a service provider or a hosting provider, what they would do is that attack traffic would be identified and then it would be dropped, effectively completing the denial of service. So if you were a hosted customer in that environment, you would be without internet connectivity for as long as the attack lasted. But customers are just not accepting that anymore. If you're an online connected business, you can't be offline just because one of your customers decided to launch an attack against you. So that just doesn't work. So what customers then started doing was an approach which Arbor, TMS is the Arbor solution, instituted, was the ability to be able to spot these attacks and reroute the traffic through some technology which would then scrub the traffic, separate the good from the bad, and then allow the good traffic to flow to its intended destination. What we've done is develop this technology which sits in line at the point of connection to the outside world, inspecting all the traffic. The good traffic is obviously allowed to flow to its intended recipient, and the bad traffic is obviously dropped. And that happens in real time at very, very high speed. And then we are able to report the traffic that we dropped to our customers so they know what we've done. And they can go and do analysis and understand what type of traffic has been dropped and where the threats are coming from.
Arbor, you said, had old technology.
Yeah.
The technology differences, I mean, you said you have different algos. Is that the
different ones, sorry?
Algorithms?
Yeah, indeed.
And that's the difference, is it?
Yes, it's the way we've constructed our software. So Arbor has been developed to very much sit as an offline system. So that when a problem is identified, they then reroute traffic to the Arbor device. And it's a very different architecture to what we've developed, which is something that sits always in line, always protecting 24/7 without any manual intervention.
How many competitors do you have with the same capabilities?
We don't believe there's anybody out there that can deploy in the same way as we do. So the market opportunity, most of the analysts forecasted this market is going to be $1 billion market plus in the next 3 years by 2019. It's covered by IDC. Infonetics is probably the leading research house on DDoS. Gartner have started covering the DDoS market. We have a relationship with Gartner, but they tend to really focus on the market when it becomes $1 billion plus, so when it's already past the $1 billion mark.
And so it is now what?
It's around $600,000 is the size of the market today. 600 million, sorry, not 600,000, 600 million. We'd be struggling if it was 600,000. So in terms of the DDoS market opportunity, some of this we've covered. The adoption of cloud, the increasing capacity and the speed of those links, the frequency and the magnitude of DDoS attacks. So we're seeing customers being attacked hourly, daily, which is a significant change from what it was a couple of years ago. The big opportunity we see is for service providers and hosting providers to use technology from companies like Corero to deliver services to their customer base. So as more and more companies move to the cloud and move their infrastructure to hosting providers, they'll start looking for those hosting providers and service providers to provide security services. So rather than buying what we call raw internet connection, so buying an internet connectivity which delivers you your good traffic and your bad traffic, customers are turning around to their service provider to say, I want to buy protected internet. So I want the attacks filtered out in your network prior to you delivering the traffic to me, which is a reasonable proposition at the end of the day for customers to be saying. So we're talking to a number of the large service providers about using our technology to provide premium services to their customers. So we've announced in December a major contract win with a tier one, a large service provider in Europe. And what we're doing for them is we've used our technology. They manage a regional government network, and they've deployed our technology to protect all the internet connectivity that's provided to that regional government from DDoS attacks using our technology. So that's an example, and they've got thousands of customers that they could develop to deploy our technology to do the same. So they're generating a premium service from using our technology to provide a value-add service to their customer. And we're having similar conversations with a number of the service providers in the US in terms of being able to use our technology to provide a service to their customers.
So do you see that as being the main market?
We see that as being our main market, absolutely. So that'll be effectively our channel. Those service providers, of which they provide services to obviously thousands of other customers. Yeah. And for them, the attraction is obviously bandwidth and hosting, raw or plain vanilla hosting is a commodity. Prices are coming down. So what they're looking for is value-add opportunities, and security would give them the opportunity to make 30-40% margin on their services, compared to single-digit margin on selling bandwidth and plain vanilla hosting. So we see that as a significant opportunity for us, as being an enabler for those type of companies. We truly believe we are positioned to be the new leader in DDoS protection. Arbor is the incumbent, as we mentioned, very much focused on protecting the infrastructure of the service providers and hosting providers, and we see the opportunity as being the enabler of those service providers providing DDoS services. So a revenue generating opportunity for them as opposed to a cost, which is a much easier selling proposition for us, the provider of the technology. In terms of our strategy, we very much focused on, as I said, this DDoS space, so we believe the focus gives us an advantage. We are working on, obviously, getting more and more referenceable customers. Customers in our space tend to take a lead from the larger players, so the more and more large players we can win in terms of customers, the more referenceability that gives us. So we think that's going to be very positive. Independent market testing we discussed, we think we'll get this in the coming month. In terms of the technology, being a security product, we're constantly working, and we have a development team working on future releases in terms of additional protection, added functionality. We just announced yesterday a beta version of a software-only version of our product. So we think this has got significant opportunity for the whole move towards the cloud, so you can deploy our technology without having any hardware. We see this as being the future in terms of where we go, particularly with the whole emergence of cloud-type instances and elastic compute. So that's something we're very excited about. So that product is real, and that'll continue to be developed over the coming years. And in terms of markets, we focused on the US and Canada, so North America. And then in Europe, we focused in the UK and Germany. So that's where we have resources on the ground in terms of our sales and marketing effort. And as we get success and grow, we'll obviously expand into other markets. So in terms of outlook, we're in a market space which is growing strongly. It's a hot market. Most of the analysts see double-digit growth for the next 4 to 5 years. In SmartWall, we have the technology, so we're very confident our product is what customers need. The real challenge for us is connecting with those customers and obviously growing our revenue. Very much focused in the service provider and hosting provider market. So these are going after these large corporations that in turn have thousands of customers that they in turn serve, providing security services to those customers. And revenue growth is the key focus for the company now in terms of success. With 70% gross margins, obviously the secret to our success is getting the revenue trajectory and growing strongly.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you very much, everybody.